I was blessed with the most amazing mom and dad. And they took all of these things that have been spoken to you and they applied it to my life and gave me the tools to be able to live a very independent and a very accomplished life. And I cannot take any of that credit. I have to give so much to my parents because of how they raised me. And so I know I don't have a lot of time, but I wanted to share a couple of stories with you. And in the question and answer time, I'll probably tell you more stories as well, because that's, I think, how I can best convey the message. But I want to just illustrate to you how incredible my parents are and have been in helping me through these transition times. When I was, I'm going to tell you 3 stories. When I was 5 years old, I was given a pair of braces. And these braces were new in the whole braces industry, and they actually allowed me to have a gait. And I was one of the first children to have these braces. And when I was fitted for mine, my mother started to realize that my life was going to change with these braces. And I was told by the doctors that I needed to wear these braces in order for my body to develop correctly. And so they were really encouraging my parents to put me in them for hours on end. And as they were being prepared, my mom was thinking about, well, what will that be like for Becca? What will that be like at school? What will her challenges be? And she recognized that while I was at school, I would have the possibility of falling down, whether it be in the classroom, whether it be on the playground, that I would fall down in these braces. So she thought, well, does Becca have the tools to get back up after she fell down? And realized that I probably didn't have those tools. And so she contacted a girl in my neighborhood or my community who was paralyzed from the waist down. And I believe she was in the Spina Bifida clinic as well, because she was much older than I was. She was like a teenager in high school. And she contacted her and had me meet with her, and we proceeded to learn how to fall. And she taught me to fall, first of all, in my wheelchair. And I was told, fall with your hands out. And I love doing that, and then she helped me learn to get back up. And it was my favorite little joke to be talking with people and then all of a sudden fall out of my wheelchair and then everyone freak out and I just get back up into it and kind of laugh or whatever. But that was my favorite little thing to do as a 5-year-old. And so I got really good at falling out of my wheelchair, and I got really good at getting back into it. My mom knew I wasn't done yet. I still had to learn to fall in the braces. And I remember the first time being in my braces, standing up in my mentor's living room, and her telling me to fall. And I looked at the ground, and I looked at where I was, and the ground was a lot further away. And I got fearful in my heart. And I knew that I had to do it because everybody was watching me. And so I just put my hands out, and I fell. And I didn't have my crutches or anything, but I just fell. And it wasn't that bad. And that was my next fun thing, is I would just fall all over the place at my parents' house on carpeted areas. But my mom knew that I wasn't always going to fall in carpeted areas, and she knew that I needed to learn to fall with my crutches. And so we proceeded on to that next level of learning, but we did it in a different type of environment. My mom would take me on these walks, and we'd walk around the playground, and we'd walk around the community, and she would say to me, "Becca, fall." And I would have to fall right then. And it didn't matter where we were, I had to fall right then. And, she didn't pick the softest patches of grass for me. Sometimes I'd fall on rocks. Sometimes I'd fall on really hot asphalt. And each time, even if I was crying because I had hurt myself or I wasn't enjoying this walk very much, I would have to get myself back up. And it was through this test and through this learning process that my mom gained the confidence for me to be able to go to school in my braces and to be in any situation and know that I could handle it. Because if I fell, I would be able to get myself back up. And I have to just give so much credit to my mom, because I'm sure it wasn't fun for her to see me cry. It wasn't fun for her to see me become upset or to even tell me to fall. Because as parents, I know, especially my mom, you want to protect your kids. But she was protecting me. She was protecting me in the longer scheme of things by by challenging me, by giving me something hard to do. And she also knew that I had the ability to do it, and she gave me the confidence to be able to do it. And so I have to give so much credit to her for that. And that's how she was throughout my whole life. My parents also allowed me to be really creative. And I remember when I was 9 years old, so probably about 10 actually, my sister, who was just a year older than I was on the jump rope team. And she, I remember going to school thinking that because she's on the jump rope team, I had to be on the jump rope team. And so I went to the audition day or the tryout day, and I was, sitting about 3 people away from my turn to try out for the jump rope team. And as each girl or boy went and did their little tryout, it got to be almost my turn. And right then, as I'm waiting, I realized that, oh my goodness, I can't jump rope. It hit me right then. And so what do I do? And I looked around the room really quick, and my parents didn't tell me I couldn't jump rope. They just let me go do this. My mom was fully aware that I was trying out for this team, but she just let me go do it. And I looked around the room, and I saw in the very back of the room that there were a couple of kids turning the double ropes. And I thought, oh, I can do that. I can do that. So when my name was called, I willed myself very, very confidently back to the back of the room. I picked up the double ropes, and I started turning them. And I made the team. So I have to just say, allow your kids to be creative. Even if it's something, I have another little story too. I loved to be involved with my friends, and they all had big wheel bicycles. And I wanted a big wheel bicycle. And I remember one day when my brother wasn't looking, climbing onto his big wheel bicycle, putting my legs in Indian style, and started to pedal the bicycle with my hands. And my parents saw this, and that night they went out and they bought me a big wheel bicycle. And it wasn't something, the only adapted thing my dad did to it was he took off the handlebar, so when I turned it didn't, it wouldn't whack me in the face. But they saw that I had an interest in this, and they took it, they gave me something that I wanted to do, and it wasn't difficult to do. It didn't need to be, I didn't need a prescription for it, I didn't need my approval from my insurance company. It was something that was very simple to do, but they just saw that I had an interest in this, and they provided the opportunity, they provided the way. And so I told you I only had 3 stories, but 2 of those I wasn't really planning on telling. So here's my real story that I really want to tell. Okay, so a few years ago, I had the opportunity, I was a marketing assistant for a financial advisor. And we were given opportunities to earn trips. And these were very, very lavish trips. And all expenses paid at these beautiful resorts. And one of this trip that we had earned was in Palm Springs, California. And Palm Springs, California is, 360 days of the year. It's 90 degrees outside. Gorgeous. And I love to swim. And I've been a swimmer since I was 3. I really love to swim. And so I spent the day out with my friends at the swimming pool. And they had beautiful swimming pools and perfect temperature. And it was really, really fun afternoon. Well, little did I know that this darling little family were across at this other swimming pool, and that they had been watching me all afternoon and waiting for me to leave. And when I climbed back into my wheelchair to leave and go back to the hotel, this family stopped me, and they introduced themselves to me. It was a mother and a father, and their little boy named Max. And Max had spinal bifida, and he was 4 years old. And when his parents introduced me to him and told me about him, and I made that connection, and I said, oh, I was put in the spinal bifida clinic. I grew up with a lot of kids my age, and I understand that we have similar issues and similar functionalities and things. And so, yeah, I'd love to talk with you. And so we started walking toward the hotel, talking, and they just really wanting to know, well, how did you learn to swim? And how did you learn to get yourself in and out of your wheelchair? And oh my goodness, just on and on and on about everything they had observed me do. And I just thought, whoa, I didn't realize that you've been watching me that long. And I didn't realize I'd been really doing that much stuff, because to me, this was just second nature. This is something that I just do. And so I thought about it, and I thought, I have really great parents. And I started to explain this to them. And as we were talking, I noticed that Max was going like this. And we were rolling along and walking along. And Max was going like this. And his dad was pushing him. And in my family, when I was giving this sign, it meant that I wanted to push myself. And so my parents would let go and pushing me, and I would just proceed to push myself. And that's still my sign today. If I want to push myself, I'll do that, and then whoever's pushing me will know. And so Max was doing this, and Max's dad wasn't allowing him to push. And I thought, well, maybe I'm rolling too fast. Maybe I'm going too quickly. And so I slowed my pace just a little bit, and Max's dad still was pushing Max. And so I decided I had to think about this, because I thought, well, here's Max's parents telling me they want their son to be independent. They want him to have the kind of life that they're seeing me lead. And yet they're pushing him when very clearly Max wants to push himself. And so I stop and I look at Max and I said, Max, do you want to race? And Max, he had these really, really big blue eyes. He said, yeah, I want to race. I'm like, all right, well, where do you want to race to? And so he looked around and he saw that there was this bridge. And he points to the bridge. He says, over the bridge. I want to race over the bridge. I'm like, okay, perfect. So we got in position. And Max was on this side of me. And I was here. And his mom yells out, on your mark, get set, go. And I lunge forward. And I look over to see how Max is doing. And Max's dad was pushing him. And so I thought, okay, well, can't let him win. I've got to beat him. Well, I got to beat Max's dad to the finish line. So I do. And Max's parents are just stunned that I didn't let Max win. And they just have this look of shock on their face. Like, what are you doing? What kind of motivational talk is this? And I looked at Max, and Max looked really discouraged. He was really sad that he had lost this race. And I thought, how cool is that? That here is this 4-year-old little boy who honestly believes he can beat me in a race. And so I turned to Max again and I said, Max, do you want to race one more time? He's like, yeah. I'm like, all right, we're going to race to the hotel doors, but this time you're going to push yourself. And Max is like, all right, I'll beat you. And I look at Max's parents, and they just are looking at me stunned. I mean, they're just looking at me like, Max can't do this. And I mean, looking at their faces, I thought, oh no, am I asking too much of Max? I mean, that was honestly my thought, was I hadn't seen him push. I didn't even know if he was capable of doing that, and yet I had just challenged him to this race. And just as instantly as I had that thought, the second thought entered my mind, and this thought was, you know what? Max believes he can do it. So let's just see if he can do it. And so we got in position. Max was here, and I was here. His mom called out, on your mark, get set, go. And Max was brilliant, okay? Instead of lunging forward, Max turned his wheelchair and he lunged it into mine. Took the advantage in the race and then made it to the hotel doors before I even had a chance to correct my course. So, he was a smart one. He was thinking. Okay, so here's this little boy. He's 4 years old, okay? And honestly, should he have beat me in the race? Because I was way bigger, I have way more muscles, and way more experience than this little 4-year-old boy about being in a wheelchair, okay? But see, Max had something that nobody could take away from him, and that is that he believed. He believed he could do it. And so I just challenge you as parents to look at your children, and this doesn't have to be something just for your children with spinal bifida. This can also be for your children, all your children, okay? If they believe in themselves and they believe that they can do something, okay, it's not your job to judge whether or not it's possible, but it's your opportunity to get behind them and to say, all right, go for it. Go try out for the jump rope team. Go beat this person in a race. Do what you want. Do what you believe that you can do, okay? And I promise you that if you take that attitude in your children's lives, okay, then all these transition periods will work themselves out, okay, because you'll be giving your kids the confidence to be able to, and the tools to be able to work themselves through these challenges, because they're real. I know they're real. I've had to transition through all of them, okay, but they'll have the ability and they'll have the confidence to do it. So thank you so much for letting me be a part of this night.